We had a big controversy about House Bill 59, which is also known as the FixNics bill, which those people who were introducing the bill saw this as a way, they said, to not only reestablish gun rights to people who had previously lost it in court, but also a way to protect retail stores who sell guns from liability, things like that. But some people thought that was a backdoor method that could lead to things like gun confiscation and so on. Apparently, as this debate got underway, the bill, I'm told, has been pulled. Aaron Dorr, you might recognize him from Wyoming Gun Owners. Thanks for calling in, Aaron. So the bill was pulled, and when?
Yeah, it was pulled last night by the sponsor, Representative Pownell, and I think it's because of the fact that the lawmakers got inundated with thousands of emails from WIGO members telling them to remove this bill from consideration in 2020.
Okay, so what was, because when I read through the bill, this is where, looking at the language of it, to me, some of the language, I kind of scratched my head, but I thought, okay. I even had the one gentleman on who was from an association who works with retail stores that sell guns, and he says we're trying to protect retailers and we're trying to help people restore gun rights if they have previously lost the gun rights. So what did you see as the problem with the bill?
Well, sure. I mean, this happens all the time. When you see people introduce a gun control bill, especially in a red state, they almost always try to wrap it in something that's good so as to get gun owners confused as to what's going on. They could have run that language by itself and not run the rest of the bill. The bottom line is when you see lawmakers like Senator Von Flatter and Bill Pownell sponsoring a gun bill, you know it's a bad bill. And this bill, in particular, would have furthered the idea of allowing liberal judges to take away somebody's firearms with no criminal conviction.
I didn't see anything in the bill that said that, though. What part of the bill said that?
I'm traveling right now. I can't see it, but the whole last half of the bill dealt with a new mechanism to allow gun owners to be denied their gun rights based on the say-so of a judge with no criminal conviction required.
Well,
and that's the whole problem.
Okay, my understanding when I read, but I'd like to see how you interpret that, because my understanding when I read it was these were people who had already been convicted of something and had lost those rights in a federal court, and so the bill was supposed to...
That was one of many ways in which this could happen. But it could also happen to regular people who are the judge just decides should no longer have their gun rights. And the way this ordinarily works is they turn to a liberal mental health staffer and they say, go interview this gun owner and come back and give us your assessment on this person's mental health. And these days, with today's crazy liberals believing that people who love their country, who love their president, who love God, who love their firearms, they think that we're crazy. Allowing people like that to have an almost unilateral say on our gun rights is a disaster waiting to happen. And that's why when this bill was pushed in D.C., it was pushed by Dianne Feinstein and Chris Murphy and all the hyper-radical leftist folks that represent the gun control crowd in D.C. That wasn't done on accident.
Okay. Do you see, because this always happens, if a bill is pulled, 2021, Aaron, you and I will be having the same discussion.
Well, it's not even just that. I mean, as you know, Glenn, these bills are never dead until the session is adjourned, sine die. And our concern right now is this bill is going to be resurrected as an amendment on another bill sometime in the last waning hours of the 2020 session. So while we're very happy with where things are this morning, we're not going to back down at all because we know how these guys operate, and their ability to use amendments and leadership bills and last-minute maneuverings to advance a bill is exactly how moderates in Cheyenne like to operate. So we're gonna be happy for about an hour this morning, and then we're going to get right back to the email program and social media and make sure that the emails don't slow down in Cheyenne.
Sure. I think what would help is if you could provide, especially me, specifically, because in order to fight this, we got to look at the specific language. Specifically, what is the language that? Because I understand when you say there are certain people that you don't trust, and there are some people sponsoring this bill I don't trust. I mean, I even had Michael Von Flatteren on, and nice enough guy, but when it comes to him sponsoring a bill like this, I don't trust him. But I need to have specific language that I can cite to say that this is the problem specifically. Here's the language. If you can find that and get that to me,
we can get that. That's not a problem. But there's so many more issues here. I mean, first of all, when in the committee hearing on this last fall, they asked Nephi Cole straight up, what problem are you trying to solve? What issue has existed and what has happened in Wyoming that we're trying to solve with this bill? And he could think of not a single example.
Okay.
So we know this is all a solution in search of a problem. But what's more is that even if we grant all their arguments, even if Von Flatteren is Charlton Heston reincarnate, this is all part of a failed gun control scheme that never stops any criminals. Background checks haven't stopped criminals. Waiting periods haven't stopped criminals. Gun-free zones haven't stopped criminals. And neither would this. And of course, in case your audience hasn't heard yet, Glenn, there's another gun control bill that was just filed yesterday, Senate File 80, which would require and impose a mandatory waiting period.
We talked about that. Talked about that yesterday. I'm up against the clock, so I got to let you go, but we'll have you back on that one, okay?
Sounds good.
All right,
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you, Aaron.